Welcome to the Leading Ladies podcast with international leadership coach, speaker, author, trainer, and your host, Fiona Mackay. The Leading Ladies podcast shares stories and advice from women around the world who have successfully navigated the glass ceiling. You'll gain powerful insights into strategies for cracking the glass ceiling, embracing your self-worth and value, and advocating for yourself and others. So please join Fiona for frank, courageous, and heartfelt conversations designed to take you on a journey to new levels of personal and professional success.
Welcome back, Leading Ladies. I'm here again today with Matt Hughes, who created the very first top women in aviation and aerospace list. And he's also a self-confessed space nerd. He's enthusiastic about all things space, and that's what he does with his company, Pineapple Empire. And me and Matt are thrilled today to be joined by Gitkia Gorthi. She is one of the women who made the list. Young woman, should I say. She's going to be our youngest guest ever. She's 17, and I'm just thrilled to have her here. Gitkia is a rising senior at Chantilly High School in Northern Virginia. She's also an aspiring astronaut and physician who wants to do research in aerospace medicine. She's also the founder and CEO of nonprofit Ignited Thinkers, something that she founded in the 8th grade to spread science education globally. So she actively inspires and educates students around the world and a lot of adults too. She's interned at NASA in their gene lab, and she has a vision to create equal opportunities and break stereotypes in the space industry, because she knows that having more diversity and creativity in space is absolutely essential for what mankind, or humankind, I should say, not mankind, scrap that, humankind needs to do next. Welcome, Gitkia.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction and having me in this podcast. I'm very excited to share my journey with you all.
Yeah, we're excited to have you here. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, as always, I'm excited, blessed, and privileged and honored to be here, and love to be talking to Gitkia and you again, Fiona. Gitkia, I'm super excited to talk to you because I'm just thinking about it now, and I never bothered to check if you're the youngest on our list, but I think you might be. So that's really exciting. And I know I was talking to you at the beginning here, and you're just super impressive at such a young age. And I wish I were you when I was that age. So looking forward to hearing more from you.
Thank you.
So how does it feel to be a 17-year-old superstar?
It feels amazing to be called a 17-year-old superstar, but I know there's still amazing people out there who are even younger than me doing great things. So I never view age as a factor into what I'm doing. And so I'm just glad to be, honored and to be put on the list, even though I'm not a legal adult yet. So thank you, Mr. Hughes, for the opportunity.
Yeah, of course. And you can call me Matt. You don't have to, Mr. Hughes is technically my dad, so.
And that's why, we're here to talk today about, courage knows no age limits. Courage is really, really important if we want to make a difference around the world for women, if we want to change the status quo, if we want to make it to Mars, all these different things. And so I'm really curious, Gitkia, to learn more about Ignited Thinkers and, where you drew the courage from to do that.
Yeah, so I can explain a little bit of a backstory. So growing up, I lived near Washington, D.C., so I always used to go to the Air and Space Museum, and I loved space. But I never viewed it as like a real career because it just didn't seem attainable. Neither of my parents are in the space industry. And so when I got into 7th grade, I took an engineering class, and the teacher of that class started a rocketry club. And he's like, Gitkia, why don't you join a rocketry club? And I was like shocked because I didn't know kids could build model rockets in 7th grade. I thought that was crazy. So of course I said yes, because I'm up for any opportunity, and I joined. And I ended up falling in love with building model rockets. I think I would spend 3 to 4 hours every day after school with him, just building model rockets and flying them. And so it was amazing. And one day I was talking with my parents and I was like, isn't this epic? I'm so glad I joined this club. And my parents were like, you're so lucky to have had this opportunity. Both my parents are immigrants to the United States. So they were I'm so blessed that you have this opportunity. When I was young, I didn't even know I could go into space in middle school. And so the inner Girl Scout in me, I've been a Girl Scout since kindergarten. And so those values of leadership and change have been instilled in me. And so then like something clicked and I was like, this is my moment where I can share what I love to others. And so I would say that's where Ignited Thinkers really started. And I wanted to create a tech ed teacher that I've had for every other student out there and expose them to space. Because if I didn't have that rocketry club, I probably would have never viewed space as an attainable career or something that I could pursue. And so I wanted to spread that to everyone. So in 8th grade, that's when I, started building up Ignited Thinkers.
And remind me again, because I'm British, how old are people in 8th grade?
They're 14.
14. So you were 14 when you started this. Wow. And was it scary, like holding your first session or doing your first few things?
I think it was definitely nerve-wracking because it was my first time. So my first event was actually at an orphanage in India. So I think it was kind of lucky how my first event came upon. So an acquaintance of mine here, Dr. Shirley Scribner, she's an English teacher at a community college. And I was talking to her about how I'm going to start this organization and how I really want to do an event. And she was like, she's like actually a founder of multiple orphanages around the world, 2 in Africa, a few in India, even a few in Europe, I believe. And so she was like, there's this orphanage in India. There's 75 kids. It's the largest home that she has. She was like, why don't you go there and conduct your first event? And that summer, I was actually going to India to visit my grandparents, and the orphanage was literally an hour away. So it was kind of like almost fate. And I was like, yes, this is a perfect first event. And so when I went there and I saw all those 75 kids, they never had exposure to any STEM activity before. So seeing their faces like light up when I explained model rocketry and being able to help them fly and launch their own rocket was absolutely an amazing experience. And I was nervous at first, but once I held that mic and I was talking with them, I just was no longer nervous. And I remember at the end of the event, they were telling me, I want to become just like you when I grow up. And I remember at that moment, I was like, what I'm doing is right. And I definitely want to spread Ignited Thinkers and make it even bigger because there's value. And I want to be able to reach out to more students and children like them because now they're into model rocketry in space. And they know it's a real career. So yeah, definitely first event was nerve-wracking in the beginning, but definitely once I held that mic and started talking, it was all natural.
Oh, I love it.
Love that story, and so well spoken too. And so many opportunities and backgrounds. And I'm wondering now, since we're on the Leading Ladies of Aerospace podcast or Leading Ladies of, and we're smashing those glass ceilings, it sounds like you had a lot of opportunities and you had a lot of confidence instilled. Did you encounter any obstacles on your way? Anybody saying that you couldn't do that because you are a girl or, anything like that?
Yeah, so I definitely, in the place I've been raised in, it's a very urban area. And so I've never had that. And my parents are very supportive. So there was never this obstacle to say that just because I'm a girl, I couldn't do it. However, I've had people tell me that space wasn't like a real career or like a place that I could get a job. I think there's always been like this misconception or like stereotype. Like when I decided I wanted to go into aerospace medicine, I've had literally no one tell me that's a real career. Everybody was like, how are you going to get that as a job? I don't think you can do it. I don't think you can survive. Like do something safe, do a safe job. And I was like, it wasn't because I was just a female. I think it was probably just because of the lack of knowledge of the space industry. So I've had people doubt whether what I was doing was right or not. But my parents were always supportive of me. And they're like, you can do whatever you want. And I think Girl Scouts has always told me that I can do anything. So those like values that I've had ever since I was kindergarten kind of let me become who I am. And I just kind of ignored the negative people and focused on the positive people and people who supported me. And I've used LinkedIn a lot. When I started Ignited Thinkers, I was able to connect with amazing space professionals. And they were always came up to the plate and were like, I want to help you. I want to support you. I have mentoring sessions. And they're always like pulling and making me become a better person. So I never had those feeling where I couldn't do something because I was a girl. But of course, there were obstacles. I feel like there is in anything that you want to try. So in 8th grade, when I first started like Ignited Thinkers, it was just an idea. Like it's so hard to go from an idea and make it something. So I emailed like 30 to 40 organizations, just like emailing them like about Ignited Thinkers and how I want to collaborate with them. And I think I got like 2 responses, but it was a big win. Like in 8th grade, even just getting 2 responses was a big deal for me. And I just kind of grew from there when I would make connections. I'm a huge believer that collaboration creates better success for everyone. So I tried to like really point that out in every email that I sent. And even getting those 2 organizations to respond back is how I really started to grow Ignited Thinkers. So there was obstacles, but I always persevered and never gave up.
I love that. I love that. And I think one of the things that your response is highlighting is the obstacles are less for your generation, are about being a girl. And when I think about aerospace as a whole, people that are entering the workforce now, there's still definitely like gender norms and things like that, but there is definitely much less of girls should be doing this and boys should be doing that. And so I think it's going to be really interesting as, we start getting more and more people retiring out of the industry over the next 10 to 20 years. I think we're going to see a big shift in that. But I know what you mean about people saying, go take a safe career. When I left corporate America, everyone's like, oh, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Why would you run your own business? And people do like safe, and it takes a lot of courage to turn around and say, you know what? No, I don't need to do safe because I know I am capable of. No, I know I am capable of that. Any thoughts, Matt?
Yeah, no, all of that. Plus what stuck out to me was you also mentioned support and mentorship and, being on LinkedIn, Gittika, and how supportive and collaborative people can be if you do reach out to them, which is something that I always try to promote on LinkedIn or to my friends. And, in real life, I'm like, hey, you should get on LinkedIn. And they're like, oh, it doesn't work. It's just like a job board or whatever. I'm like, but you got to make it work. There's tons of people out there. If you're willing to network with them, reach out, and they will support you. And, like your parents, it's good to have a good support network, but then also adding in that mentorship. That's what I'm really grateful to have Fiona for as well, too. Is she's guiding me a little bit, too.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and you mentioned like LinkedIn yesterday. I've been posting about the upcoming Leading Ladies of Aerospace Summit, and I'm sitting there yesterday, and I checked my inbox, and somebody's just gone to my website and signed up for $1,000 level sponsorship of my event, and I was crying, because I messaged this person and I'm like, this was completely unexpected. And he said, I've been watching you from afar for some time, and my team love what you're doing, and we want to support you. And I'm like, oh, I'm so happy right now. Like literally so moved. So yeah, I keep joking now that LinkedIn should probably pay me because I'm always raving about how great it is. But maybe one day, maybe I'll get that thing that says like LinkedIn expert on the top of my profile or something. They could at least give me a free upgrade to like a LinkedIn Premier account or something.
Want to go live?
Anyway, this is not about me. This is all about Gittika. So Gittika, you've spoken about Girl Scouts, but I'm really, really curious, where do you get your courage from? Or like in those moments where you're like, where do you go to say, I'm going to find some courage right now. I'm going to do this. What do you tap into?
I think there's two main things. First is definitely what has happened in the past. I know 17, I haven't faced everything yet. The biggest obstacles are probably yet to come. However, from what I've faced over the years, there have been obstacles that have impacted me and made me kind of like, I thought like, oh, this is it. Like, I'm not gonna be able to move past from this, but I was able to overcome it. And I think every time I'm faced upon another challenge, I'm like, okay, you know what? I went past this obstacle. If I can go past this one, I can go past anything. So I think that courage that I can overcome my obstacles is definitely what I always think about and like tell myself. And another thing is definitely my family. Like my mom, she's a house mom, so she's always been with me, and she always like instills me to like, what's the worst that can go wrong? Like she's always there to just tell me what's the worst that can happen. And when I think about it, literally nothing. And I'm a basketball player. I've been playing basketball since third grade. And a little story. And so when I was in third grade, I joined a team. And I would stand at the corner of the court, not playing basketball. Like I would just be in the corner because I was afraid that I would make my team lose. And then I was listening and I read this quote online, and it says, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I was like, it just hit somewhere. And I was like, wait, you're right. If I don't even take that first step, I'm obviously not doing anything to help my team. So we're obviously going to lose. And so that made me and that like not only in basketball, but in real life. So ever since then, even if I'm like faced upon something, I'm like, I'm going to give it a shot, because worst case, if I don't do anything, I'm going to fail anyway. So I think that's something that I always think back to. And that's where I get my courage from.
I'm for those of you that are not on the video who are listening on iTunes, I'm grinning like a Cheshire cat right now. Because, Gittika, decide not to have a career in space, which won't happen, come and talk to me about being a coach, because I was just talking to my clients yesterday. I'm like, what's the worst that could happen? What is the worst that could happen? Are you going to die? No, and it's a great question to ask. And then, what was the first thing that you said, other than what's the worst that could happen? Oh, keeping a list of the last obstacles you've overcome. Yeah. So yesterday I was with a client, and they're early 30s. They've grown this great real estate business, real estate construction, and she's worrying about things. And I'm like, please create me a list of all of the bad situations you've dug yourself out from. No problem at all. I said, even if something bad happens, you have the ability to get out of it. And I just love hearing that somebody at 17 knows that. I'm just like, this is awesome.
Yeah. This always comes back, that every time I have an obstacle, that's always what I come back to, those quotes and those obstacles I've faced in the past.
I love it.
Yeah, that stood out to me too. I don't know if you caught my grin as well, but I'm remembering, last week when we were talking to Christina, and I think Erica mentioned it as well, as the whole, what is there to lose? And that's something I always come back to as well when I'm about to make a big, crazy step. I'm like, well, there's nothing to lose, so why not try?
I love it. Sounds like we're all kindred spirits here. I'd like to take a moment to pause and recognize GM Defense, our sponsor that helps make this podcast possible. GM Defense is driving the future of military mobility by leveraging the best-in-class capabilities of General Motors for unmatched innovation, proven performance, and breakthrough lifecycle economics. Learn more at www.gmdefensellc.com, and watch out for new job posts as they expand and strengthen their team. You can also follow them on Twitter and LinkedIn. The GM Defense team is amazing, and we are proud that they sponsor the Leading Ladies of podcast. And back to today's guest. So tell me, Gitkia, about one of your favorite moments with one of your mentors, and one of your favorite moments, running actually one of your Ignited Thinkers sessions.
Yeah, so there is, my first only real workshop that I did in person was with those kids in India. Then afterwards, when I was starting to do things, everything became virtual because of the pandemic. And so I've been doing a lot of webinars online, but I haven't had that connection with students as well as the first event that I conducted. And definitely at the end of the first event, my favorite memory was when one girl came up to me and she called me her older sister. And she was like, she was calling me a relative. And she was like, I'm so glad you took your time to do this. I absolutely love you, and I want to be like you. And I didn't even know I can do this. So thank you for those opportunities. And, seeing how I could impact a student's life, and, I could be a role model, because I think hearing from a teacher or hearing from someone who's maybe 20, 30 years older than them is different than hearing from someone who's maybe 1 or 2 years older than you. I'm literally like their sister, or I'm literally like their best friend. And so when it comes down to that, it was just an amazing, that was probably the best moment of my life, of just hearing how I impacted her. And then in terms of my mentorship experiences, the best memory that I've probably had is talking with the people from NASA. I got into a NASA internship last month at NASA Gene Lab at NASA Ames Center. And that's where I literally analyzed real data that was collected from spaceflight and analyzed Drosophila, which is fruit fly's cardiovascular system. And
I used to do them in college.
Yeah, and it was
amazing to hear somebody else say that.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. And I didn't know Drosophila had so many similarities with the human heart and human diseases. So it was absolutely amazing to analyze the data and come up with a research proposal. I'm kind of waiting on the results now, but they actually are going to fund the whole project to be able to go to a conference and actually conduct an experiment. So it's actually, it's an amazing experience. And talking with people like Dr. Fogarty, she spends every 1 month with 1 hour every month with me, just talking about what her experience in, space medicine is. And it's absolutely amazing that she takes her time to do that. So definitely amazing experiences all around.
That's great. A question that I had that just came up for me, we're talking about age, and what kind of advice would you have to younger people, I guess younger than you, or even people your age right now, that think that you're just special, and that's the reason why you can do all this cool stuff at, your age? Is that why? Or, I mean, obviously you are pretty gifted and special, but is that the reason, or what advice would you have to them?
That is 100% not real at all. I mean, whether it be financially, no, absolutely not. Both my parents are immigrants. I haven't had that special advantage ever. I go to a regular public school. And then in terms of like my intellectual ability, I'm very hardworking. Like I'm not someone who, when I read it once, I just memorize it, and I have like memory that's like photogen, like what is it, like just automatic memory, like picture memory they say. So I don't have that either, where I just read it once and I memorize it. I work really hard. Like I stay up late, wake up early to like accomplish the things that I want to accomplish. And I think my work ethic is what is like everything that I've accomplished so far. If anything is of what I've achieved so far, it's all because I've worked hard. I know that's so cliche to say like I worked hard, but that's actually true. If you find something you're really passionate about, just never let it go and keep trying. I remember when I first started Ignited Thinkers in 8th and 9th grade, it was really slow. Reaching out to organizations, 3/4 of them, 99% of them wouldn't even respond back to me, but that was okay for me. I would keep trying and never give up. And both my parents are not in the space industry. Like I have to stress that they don't know anything about space. So it's me doing everything by myself. So for kids who just are really passionate about something, I would say never give up on your dreams just because you don't have connections in the industry. Like make connections, like go on social media. I used to be like a huge no social media user. In 6th grade, I told myself I was never getting Facebook, never getting Twitter, never getting anything. And then here I am with every social media platform. What I've learned is that social media has to be used like a tool, not to just talk about yourself, but to connect with others. It's easy to use it in a bad way, but social media can actually help you in a positive way. So the advice that I would give is just to never give up and believe in your dream.
And that's great advice for adults as well. I know exactly what you mean. I was, I think you call it salutatorian, not valedictorian, the one after, in high school. And again, I would get home from school and I would study till, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, because I wanted to graduate with all A's. I just did. And that work ethic is definitely something that's carried me through. And so, I think that there's a lot of adults that could learn from you just as much, Gitkia. And speaking of adults, how have some of the adults responded to Ignited Thinkers? Because it's great that you're influencing kids, but I'm pretty sure you're probably influencing adults as well. So do you have any examples to share with us?
Yeah, there has been amazing people who have had amazing reactions to Ignited Thinkers, and I've always praised the work that's being done and how much it could grow. I think one specific example I would say is the contact with Mr. Courtney Stad. He was the former White House liaison for NASA, and we met over LinkedIn, and he ended up making me connect with amazing individuals like Mr. Hines. He was the former NASA chief technologist at AIM Center. And so Mr. Stad connected me with him because he thought that he would be a good connection for Ignited Thinkers to collaborate, because he actually has his own organization called the Hines Family Foundation. And so I'm actually going to be collaborating with their organization to spread space education. So it's amazing to see how such amazing individuals who are already space champions are, like connecting on like social media platforms like LinkedIn, and actually connecting me with other individuals. I think that's it's a very positive reaction, and they're always like curious of how I started it, what's my motive, and what's my vision, because I do want to expand Ignited Thinkers to be really big and something more impactful than it is right now. And so always like sharing my vision and how they are willing to support me and trust my vision is just absolutely amazing.
I want to hire you to come and work for me right now.
I was thinking the same thing. No, I mean, I'm an adult, or I like to think I am, or I hope I am. And you've definitely inspired me today with a lot of the things you've said. I mean, I totally relate to everything you just said about work ethic and discipline. And I come from a background of self-study as well. So I definitely, recommend to all the listeners and viewers out there that everything is possible. You just got to get out there, connect with people, and work hard at it.
And the other thing is, like, anything's possible. You just might not get it as quick as you want it, and that's okay, because the journey matters, because it's preparing you for something. I applied for a job once, which was an airframe integration manager. And I didn't get the job and I was devastated. And then 6 months later, the opening came up for a customer business director to Boeing. And I ended up getting that job and moving out to the US. And now I'm here. And so like, as I get older and I have these experiences, I'm like, all right, I haven't got what I wanted yet. Yet is a really, really important word.
Yeah, it's so important to remember that just because you don't get one thing doesn't mean it closes the door for everything. I know when I applied for internships, I applied to so many, like every internship I know of. And even if I get one, I consider it a big win and I don't depress over the things I didn't get. So.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
I was just going to say the same here. I applied to Tesla 3 or 4 years ago, didn't get it 3 or 4 or 5 times. And then 3 or 4 years later, I have a job at Tesla now.
If you want something badly enough and you're willing to do the work, you will get it. I mean, the only thing I can think of for me is I probably couldn't be US president because I wasn't born here. So that's the one thing I couldn't be, but that's not on my list anyway. Probably should be, but it's not. Maybe Gitkia could be president.
I was actually not born in America either. I was born in India, and then I lived in UK for 2 years. And then when I was 2.5, I came to Virginia. So I've been in Virginia ever since, but I was not born here actually.
Yeah. Do you have to be born here to be president?
Yeah, you do. Even though I'm a citizen, you have to be like naturally. Yeah.
Well, maybe we can bring up our kids to be the next president and vice president. Not that I have kids, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We'll raise them. Anyway, back on topic. So courage, I imagine that with a lot of your, female peers, if I look at, what I read in the mainstream media and stuff like that, courage can often be something challenging for teenage girls. What do you see in terms of some of your fellow teenagers lacking courage and things that they can do to, work on that a little bit?
Yeah, I feel like in high school, a lot of students worry. I mean, including myself, of course, there's peer pressure. You want to be like part of your group. You don't want to be the odd person out. You want to just blend in with the rest of the people. And I think changing that mindset, that blending in is not necessarily a good thing. You don't want to blend in. I think it's important to remember that you are your own person. You trying to dress up as someone else is not going to change who you are. I think standing out is actually very important. So in high school, I mean, I used to be the type of girl who would be like, oh, I don't want to stand out. I'm like I used to be, a shy person. And I think that changed over the years, but I used to be a shy person. And I realized that there's no point trying to blend in. I think if you stand out, it makes you special, it makes you unique. And when you are trying to talk with someone, you don't sound like a robot. You sound like yourself. So I think the main advice that I would give is just don't try to blend in. It's not actually a good thing to blend in. So that's the advice that I would give.
Oh, I love that. And speaking of courage, hey, what about this week, Matt? With Wally Funk making it to space.
For as much of a space cadet as I am, I have a little bit more than surface level space knowledge. And so this year was my first year learning about her and her story in the Mercury 13. So I'm just super happy for her to go up in that space capsule, or not just space capsule, but a whole rocket, even if it's on Amazon. Even it's one of our competitive billionaires, rockets. Like I mentioned, I work for Tesla, so I've got my own billionaire that I support, but he hasn't gone yet. So it was super incredible to get Wally up there, read and learn about her story. And I think that's going to inspire a whole lot, this whole next generation, which is one of my main missions as well. So what are your thoughts, Gitkia? Like, I'm sure you might be a little bit more familiar with Wally than I might be.
Yeah, it was absolutely inspirational to hear her story. And I think it's just another testament to age does not matter. Like whether it be you're 18, like the youngest person who went to space, whether it be the oldest person, I feel like age is just a number. It really doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean you can't achieve your dreams. It's amazing to see how she dreamed to going to space for so long and she achieved it. And that just goes to say that nothing is impossible as long as you keep at it. She didn't give up. And, at her like press release at the end when she was talking, she was like, her face was glowing and it was amazing to see her excitement. And I think, it was just so inspirational. She's going to be an inspiration for generations to come. And she's going to show everyone, never give up, hold on to your dreams. So absolutely amazing.
I love watching her on stage. She was just like so excited, like, oh my God, I love this woman. I'm just going to keep playing that all day every time I feel a bit low.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's kept me going most of the weekend. It's going to keep me going for another couple of weeks, probably. So with that being said, being the youngest person on the list, youngest person, what do you think about being the youngest person in space, or what kind of courage do you need, or do we need to get to space or to Mars? I mean, we've already made it to space, so how about Mars and beyond?
Yeah, I just think just not, again, like not viewing age as like a factor and just believing in yourself is so important. Like never have the imposter syndrome that you're not good enough to be a part of a certain group. I just don't let those thoughts get to you is really important. As we're like looking into going to Mars one day, I think taking in the younger generations, I feel like a lot of the demographics in the space industry right now is on the older side. And as they start to retire, it's important to transfer the skills and that knowledge to the younger generation and encourage them to believe that they can do it. So I think just overcoming that imposter syndrome and believing your talents and your skills and that you got in because you deserve it is so important to remember. Like I was talking with a girl the other day, she's a physics major, and in her physics class, she was the only girl. So she was facing imposter syndrome, like, can I take a physics class? And it was so important for her to realize that she got into the class not because she was a girl or because of something, but she got in because she has the worth to get into that physics class. So I think it's so important to remember to believe in yourself. Don't let other negative comments influence who you are.
Wow, what an incredible answer right off the bat. You had that. I agree with Fiona. I mean, once you're done being an astronaut, or maybe at the same time, you should consider coaching.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe you could have that be part of your Ignited Thinkers Academy.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Gitkia, it's been a real pleasure interviewing you here today. And I just realized I never actually asked you the first question that I always ask our interviewees, which is, what do you think about the glass ceiling? As a young woman who's 17, do you see the glass ceiling? Do you see it? Do you think it still exists?
I think that it's starting to break down. I think it still, to some extent, exists in that we're still trying to break it. I think it's so important to acknowledge the positive change that's happening. There are a lot of people who are supportive. There's so many initiatives to support females in space or females in really any career. And I think that's happening. And there is acknowledgement of it. There's still a long way to go. And there's still cases of harassment in workplaces. It's crazy to think that in the 21st century, women still have to go through that. And so there is still some of the ceiling up there, the glass ceiling, but we're breaking it down. And hopefully in a few years, a few months would be great, but thinking realistically, hopefully in a few years, we can completely tarnish that view and we don't have that glass ceiling anymore. So I definitely think it exists, but we're working to break it down.
Well, thank you, Gitkia. I would love to bring that message to women around the world. For the next generation, we don't want it to be there. And meeting people like you and being inspired by people like you, that gives women like me a reason to do this. We want to break that glass ceiling so that the women behind us don't even have to face it, because with your energy and your enthusiasm and your talent, I think that you could really do anything. And, we don't want a glass ceiling slowing you down. So thank you for everything that you do. And thank you for being a role model for others, not just children, but adults too.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Gitkia. Thanks for supporting the article and talking to us. We learned a lot from you today, and I can't wait for that day where the answer to that question is basically what you're kind of saying is what glass ceiling. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, what glass ceiling? Do you hear that, everybody? What glass ceiling? Let's act as if it's not there now. How about that?
Thank you for listening, everyone. We hope you now have additional tools and insights for creating your own cracks in the glass ceiling. If you think this will inspire and help others, please share this episode on your social media and leave your comments on MackayUnlimited.com/podcasts. For more tips and support as you embrace your journey through the glass ceiling, please join our community Facebook group at leadingladiesofFB.com.